Hannah.
Nice
Nice to meet you. I'm Lindsay. Nice to meet you. Hi, I'm Lindsay. Nice to meet you. I'm Lindsay. Nice to meet you.
Okay, and 1 second, folks. Anybody may be in the audience, which is great. I'm glad we have one. And if you are able to, if you need to step out, we hope that you can do it between performances. We understand that that's not possible, but we appreciate everybody's attention. And if somebody wants to be a bouncer in the back to ask the people out there to sort of keep it down, that's good too. Yay, Dad. Or are you a teacher?
Dad.
Your dad. All right, there you go. All right.
Oh, Anne, we've been through so much.
Ah, yes. I remember when I first came to you in...
Oh, the year was, 1887.
Right. I remember when I first came to you in 1887. You didn't even know that things had meanings, and now look at you.
I remember my childhood so vividly. I was only 2 when I caught the scarlet fever. The doctors didn't think that I would make it. It was a miracle that I survived. A common side effect of the scarlet fever is blind deafness. Sure enough, I lost my eyesight and my hearing. My world disappeared before I even got to know it.
Those were hard times before I even knew you. You had the worst temper. You were frustrated easily, and your tantrums were horrendous. Over time, as you started to learn more and more, your tantrums dimmed down.
I think I was frustrated because I didn't understand what was wrong with myself.
Before I came to you, I was a student at the Perkins Institution for the Blind. Before undergoing 2 surgeries, I was blind just like you. Once I was cured, I was asked to come back to your home in Tuscumbia, Alabama, to teach you. First, I taught you the manual alphabet, an alphabet written into the palm of your hand using your forefinger. Then I taught you Braille, a system of raised dots.
Then you taught me how to write. Speaking of writings, what are you reading?
A copy of your story, the story of my life.
Oh yeah, you know, when I wrote that book, I wanted to give people a look inside my world.
People were amazed by the obstacles you overcame to get to where you are today. You know, you were in college when you wrote that book.
Yes, after I learned to read and write, I was off to school. My dream was to go to college. Very few women went to college, especially blind deaf. I attended Radcliffe College. I was the first person in the United States who was blind deaf to graduate from college. I was also the first blind deaf person to get a bachelor's degree in the arts. After I graduated college, I realized I wanted to make a difference in the world.
I remember the day that the American Foundation for the Blind asked you to raise money for their cause.
Oh, and we have done so much for them. Not only is the fight for the right of the disabled, it's a great experience.
I agree. Remember when we went to Europe to raise money for the people there? I do say I had an extravagant time.
Oh, and don't forget about the blind children in hospitals and blind deaf patients in schools. Excuse me. The blind deaf patients in hospitals and blind deaf children in schools that we visited.
Oh yes, it does feel amazing to do things for people.
All this travel was hard on Anne. She was nearly blind herself at her old age. Anne passed away October 20th, 1936. A piece of me died that day with Anne, but I knew she would want me to keep going. So I got a new secretary named Polly Thompson. Hello, Polly.
Good afternoon, Helen. I feel as if we've been so many different places helping various people around the world. As you know, I could never fulfill the place of Anne, but I could thoroughly try. Remember when we went to Europe to raise money for the people there? I know you'd already been there with Anne, but it was a great time and I learned so much. We raised money for the people in hospitals and we taught people in schools.
Our travels overseas soon came to an end once World War II came around.
But there's a bright side to every bad situation. Franklin D. Roosevelt asked us to speak to soldiers in hospitals.
Oh, Polly, it gave courage and hope to all those we met. You know, I never let my disabilities get in the way of anything I aspire to do.
You're so right. Once the war ended, our travels overseas soon resumed.
We traveled all around the world, raising work opportunities and money for disabled everywhere. Did you know that we have traveled to over 50 different countries between 1945 and 1957?
No way! As you know, people with disabilities are often mistreated. Our travels just went to show that people with disabilities have the same rights as people with non-disabilities.
You know what, Polly? I like to think of myself as a socio-political activist who champions in the fair treatment and education of the handicapped. When I die, I want to leave behind a legacy, but not just any legacy. I want to be the kind of leader who changed the lives of many and will continue to do so for many years on.
Yes. Oh, Helen, we lost track of time. We must catch our ride. We are going to help a lot of people.
Then let's get ready to change the world.
Great job. What made you pick the topic?
We wanted to pick off the list that NHG gave us, and we were looking for leaders, and we came across Helen Keller, and we were really inspired by the obstacles she overcame to learn and to just get like a hands-on life, and then after that she helped so many other people.
How did your understanding change during the research?
Well, at first, I think a lot of people just think of Helen as like a blind deaf person who learned to read. But once we started to research, I think that we found that she was more than that. She wrote books. She was like the first blind deaf to graduate from college with a bachelor's degree. And so that really changed our way of looking at her, and we just wanted to incorporate that in our play.
Go on, sorry.
Your play was well written. How hard was it for you in particular to act out this?
Well, it was really challenging because we had to make sure that she was writing into my hand because we needed to think of a way for us to communicate. And we found out in our research that Helen Keller learned to talk, but not that well. So I had to learn to talk with the dialects, because she couldn't hear what she was saying to make out the words. So she wasn't that good at talking, but she could.
We also looked up videos of what Anne actually did to Helen. And she actually did write into her hand. So that was
Using the manual alphabet, which is written to the palm of the hand using the forefinger. So Helen learned to know the words that Anne was writing into her hand.
Yeah, I thought that was great. The way you guys kind of assumed the characters. Even when you changed characters, you could see you were playing two parts. And I was reiterating the sentiment here about, this is not difficult, or it's not an easy thing to go out here in front of people like this and execute the performance. And then you go out with your eyes shut the whole time. I don't know if it makes it harder or easier, but you did an excellent job. I really appreciated too the structure of it, where you very seamlessly went back and forth between talking to each other, and then you would talk to us, or more of a monologue type of thing, and you just kind of flowed from one aspect to another. It was nice.
Thank you.
If you talked, the question was asked, and you did a very nice job answering what you learned that you didn't know before you started. Moving forward, if you think about the legacy, how much do you think today she had an impact on other people?
Well, I think that a lot of people were inspired. Like if you read her book, she has a couple autobiographies. There's a couple movies made about her. There's a Broadway play. She was only 2 when she lost her eyesight and her hearing. And people, I think, are like, we were amazed too that we were thinking like how did she learn like all the stuff that she did, like how did she learn to communicate with people and like understand things and talk and graduate from college and help other people.
Doesn't it sort of make you think a little bit like how quote easy it is if you can hear and see, how much easier it is to learn, and how we should
Not take it for
stop
granted.
bellyaching so much and don't take it for granted, right? Well, I thought, anybody else have a question? Very good. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.